Welcome back. It's still inside Nigeria for this Friday morning, November 19, 2021. We are going to look into the insensate building collapse in Nigeria and a way out. And of course, joining us this morning to discuss this are two experts in the build industry, architects Abimbola Adeoluwa Oke, an architectural educator at the University of Uyo, Akwa State, is joining us this morning. Good morning, Architect Abimbola.
Good morning, buddy.
Yes, good morning, sir. How is Uyo this morning?
Yeah, Uyo is good.
All right, good.
Thank you for having me.
Yeah, while we await the second guest to join us, let's start with you. You have seen a lot of things happening in the build industry of late, even though they are not new, they have been happening. But what keeps changing is that the building collapse happened, there are no punishment, there are no there are no punishment for offenders, and it keeps happening. We are losing money, we are losing our life. So let me first ask of your take about this, your general overview about insensate building collapse in Nigeria.
Well, building collapse incidences are rather unfortunate incidences. They ought not to have happened. Going by the way we do things, because first of all, we need to do the right thing in the right way. It's very important. But when we don't do the right thing the right way, unfortunate incidences like building collapse are bound to happen. In recent times, these are unavoidable incidences if we have done the right things. There are so many factors that result into a building collapse. And if those factors are addressed, I think we can curb the incidences of building collapse. It's rather unfortunate. Lives have been lost, monies have been lost, a lot of even our integrity as professionals are in question. So it's important that we get to know what factors are responsible for these incidences and then address them adequately. Most of the time, they are human factors, especially in Nigeria. Yes, there are God factors, but it doesn't happen here, like the earthquake or landslide that happens in other climes. It doesn't happen here in Nigeria. So basically, it is the human factors that result in building collapse in Nigeria. Such human factors like negligence on the part of the developer, even on the part of government agencies that are supposed to oversee these construction processes. Negligence amounts, to a failure in the structures as they are being built. Then the flouting of building codes. You see developers outrightly flouting building regulations. They are not abiding, they are not complying by building regulation. Then the use of defective and substandard materials is another factor that results in building collapse. We can go on and on. Incompetency on the part of the practitioners. You realize that developers, in the name of cutting costs and maximizing profit, minimizing expenses, they engage unqualified, I won't call them professionals, unqualified people to undergo their projects, which is not right, because they don't want to pay consultants. They boycott consultant and they get somebody because he has been vast, he has experience in the building process. They feel that he can as well double as an engineer or double as an architect. So those are the things. You realize that they now come up with substandard construction processes, and that results into mishap on the side. The lack of compliance on the part of developers, and then the non-enforcement by government agencies in charge of construction. They don't actually, they don't strictly enforce those regulations against developers on construction sites. Many construction sites going on ought to have been stopped by these agencies. But then, because of, I don't know, probably corruption, they may have been, monies must have passed, from one hand to the other for them to look the other way so that this construction can continue. And the result at the end is this unfortunate incident of building collapses. It is very pertinent that we must understand the building process and follow it through religiously. Our building code and regulation states this. Now, these days, many developers rather we want to engage people who are versed in AutoCAD to do their designs for them, rather than engaging consultants. Rather than engaging the appropriate consultant on their projects in order to minimize cost. They don't want to pay consultant. Look at the incidence of the 21-story building. How can somebody, a developer, say he no longer listens to architects? He no longer listens to his engineers. Why? Why should that be? You can't do anything. You can't do things the way you like. There are stipulated ways by which you do things. You must rely on your consultants in order to be able to go through successfully a building process. It's very important.
All right, Mr. Bimbo, you have said a lot. I will come back to you. The second guest has just joined us, Mr. Festus Adebayo, Executive Director, Housing Development Advocacy Network, HDAN. Good morning, Mr. Adebayo.
Good morning.
Yes, good morning. It's my pleasure to be here.
Good morning. Thank you for joining us.
To be here. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you for joining us on
Inside
Nigeria Leadership Television this morning. Mr. Festus Adebayo is the Executive Director, Housing Development Advocacy Network, HDAN. Yeah, Mr. Adebayo, you must have listened to our first guest earlier, Architect Abimbola Oke, who has given a general overview as to the problem or factors responsible for incessant building collapse in Nigeria. Now, as an advocate who is also interested in the housing sector, in fact, just yesterday I saw the organization issue a statement commending the Senate for passing the Real Estate Regulatory Council bill into law. So I want to ask you, do we need a new regulatory council when we have a building code in place? Is there anything wrong with the building code?
Thank you. What the statement I made yesterday is just a way to commend the Senate for passing that bill, having gone through the bill, and having found that all professional bodies will now have role to play together. Talking of collapse building in Nigeria, there are a lot of factors that are responsible for it. Thank you to my colleague, distinguished architect, Abimbola, who have just spoken. I listened to all that he said, and it's very, very correct. I will only make some little addition. Our professionals are not always on the same page. There's no collaboration. You see, when you get to site, you see all sorts of rivalry among them, and you find it funny. And a good number of those entrepreneurs who are the chief executive of real estate development company always exploit that. You can imagine what the late owner of that 21-story building, you can imagine what he said. So to start with, that's corruption. There is corruption. If there's no corruption, the man who is assigned the job of development control will have been doing his job perfectly. At various occasions in Abuja, I've had reason to visit sites. I've had reason to call development control director to ask them questions. Are you not aware of the standard of these kind of houses? Look at what they are doing there. You even approve waterways for them to build houses. These are the problem we have to tackle, leading to the collapse of building. Then when you leave corruption, then you go to what the government have been doing on their own to complicate the problem. There's no punishment. No one has been sent to jail. At various occasions, we have requested that we want to see one of those professionals going to jail for building collapse. We have never seen one from Itafaji in Lagos, where many students were affected when the building collapsed. But till today, nothing has happened. Nobody has been sent to jail. Then moved to synagogue. That one we have been monitoring in the court for several years now. No head, no tail. Is that what I said? The government's role in complicating the whole thing is huge. Now we have just recorded the worst in the history of this country. 21-story building. Over 50 people affected. A lot of economies have been affected. A lot of family are crying. No insurance, nothing but nothing. We can't continue to do things this way. A building that is 40 at the level of design can we truly collapse. A building that does not have the right set of professionals, the architect, the structural engineer, the town planner. When I visited the site, I saw the project engineer, a telephone number. I saw the structural engineer, I saw a phone number. Then I saw the architect, a particular phone number. We called the phone number, it belonged to the same owner. So the question I will ask is it that nobody has seen or observed that to put stop action? I was told that they put stop action and they closed down the place for 4 months. What was the agreement they had before reopening the place? Did the developer, did he implement it? So these are the issues. I don't think we are serious. It's unfortunate because the role of government in this issue is if the government has the political will, all this nonsense will stop. Most of our professionals are really not proactive. If they are proactive, the quack will not be doing their job. They are busy rivaling themselves, while the quack are taking over their job. And that is why when I saw the bill, we have many regulatory bodies. We have ACOM. ACOM is busy fighting NIA. Instead of them to do the right thing and ensure that this kind of problem and the rights of the auto developers engage the services of the right architect. That is not their focus. We have Carbon. We have Current. Current came alive to tell us that they were trying to set up a committee in Lagos, but the Lagos state government did not send them a representative. The commissioner for work did not send them a representative. But when the building collapsed, they were forced now to invoke the law that established them, that gave them the right to investigate that collapse. So these are the issues. But when I look at the bill 2 days ago, it is Senate that the architect, engineer, all of them will work together on every project. So what he is saying now is not everybody can do the business of real estate again. You can't go and establish a business of pure water production without getting the approval of NAFDAC. They will seal up your place. So what they are not saying with that is, before any project can be done, this must be followed. This must be followed. This must be followed. That bill is like forcing the engineer, architect, structural engineer to work together by force. Not that architect is doing the job of structural engineer or the structural engineer is trying to do the job of the town planner. You see what happened in Lagos, even when the committee was set up. We started hearing different press releases from different professional bodies. I was expecting that all of them will come together and address a joint press conference and address the problem holistically and come up with solutions two at a time. Some are becoming to say the head of that committee is a town planner. Is it that the structural engineer not involved? Is it that the town planner not there? So we need to be serious. We need political will. We should stop talking. We are not going anywhere. People like us are tired. The government to send somebody to jail, send somebody to prison, send somebody to Kuje, send somebody to Krikiri for building collapse. Thank you for giving me the opportunity.
You made your
So,
point. Yes.
We'll still get back to you later on.
After Abimbola, are you with us?
You, sir.
We had first
yeah.
who is an advocate for housing development. Now, let me read out something to you, which is enshrined in the National Building Code. One of the fundamental requirements enshrined in the Building Code under the control of building work section is that no building activity should be carried out without duly approved drawings, which must have been prepared by registered building industry professionals like you, an architect. Now, when you draw and you give to your client, is that where your job ends? Or you go to that site and ensure that your building, your drawing are being carried out according to what you give out to your client? And secondly, what Mr. Adebayo said, that professionals like you are busy rivaling each other, thereby leaving the job for quacks. Is that true?
For that question, yes, I want to totally agree with Mr. Adebayo for the assertion. A lot of rivalry has been going on between professionals. You know, professionals encroaching on each other's duties. A lot of such incidents has been happening, and which is rather very unfortunate. We are supposed to work together and cooperate, and that would have saved us, a lot of these incidences of collapsed buildings. Now, let me also say here that the laws are there. The problem is non-compliance of those laws. And if we are able to comply with those laws, because everyone's duty is spelled out on any building project, the architect is the first point of call. He's the one that draws up the concept and the plan of that drawing. His duty does not stop at production of working or production drawings for a project. His duty extends to the supervision of such projects. His duty extends to that to the site, the site works. The same thing applies to other professionals like the structural engineers, the mechanical, the electrical engineers. Their work or duty does not stop only at the production of the drawings. It extends to the site. And that is why we have, people designated as site architects or resident architects, resident engineers. They are supposed to be resident on the project and supervise the project day by day. They are supposed to be resident on the site, on the project. Are you getting my point now? But in recent times, developers are contravening these laws because they want to cut costs. They don't want to pay the consultant. A lot of consultants are redundant in this country. And it is important that government should realize that government agencies, the building control agencies that are responsible for the enforcement of these regulations, they should understand that they are not capable, they don't have the capacity to supervise ongoing construction projects. They are supposed to rely on consultants' reports. And that is why they need to insist on every project that is submitted to them, insist that consultants should be appointed on such projects. And those are the people that these government officials should relate with on particular projects to get their inspection reports right. It's very important. But you see that because we are not doing the right thing, a lot of people are taking advantage of it. You see, what thrives now is something you call direct labor project execution. Developers just engage quacks and artisans to execute their projects, boycotting and neglecting the professionals. Hello?
Yes, go ahead.
With you.
Okay, so you see, this direct labor way of executing project is causing a lot of problem. That direct labor method has sidelined professionals. It has sidelined consultants. So I believe that government, through its agency, should always insist that consultants are appointed for every project that is going to be executed. Now, the law also stipulates that project signboard should be placed on every site, and this project signboard will list the names and addresses of the consultants on the project, the name and address of the architect, names and address of the engineer, the quantity surveyor, the mechanical, all the service engineers, and even the contractor on that project. But you realize that in our environment, you don't see such things anymore. When I was in school and was being trained as an architect, I used to see project signboard on project sites, but no more today. So it's very important not only to appoint such professionals, but to ensure that they are doing their work. Before any concrete work is covered up on a site, the structural engineer must ascertain that the reinforcements have been put in place according to design. He is the one to certify in writing and approve that this work should be covered up. But there is nothing like that anymore. We have what we call the cube test, the concrete cube test. Such things are no longer carried out. They just pour concrete anyhow, they mix concrete anyhow and pour it. So those are the things. The building materials should be ascertained that they are good ones, not substandard. So it's important that we get our bearing right in order to curb this incessant building collapse in Nigeria.
Ask you now, what is the way forward?
The way forward is number one, which is what I said before. There is a building code. The building code has spelled clearly what should be the responsibility of an architect, what should be the responsibility of a quantity surveyor, what should be the responsibility of quantity surveyor. So the first way forward is for the government to have the political will, the guts, to implement the building code. To implement the building code. I hear somebody saying the building code need the legal, they need to go to National Assembly. The level at which the building code is now is implementable. It's not wrong if in the future we get the legal backing to it. It's not a problem. But the one we have is enough for us to solve the problem. So the way forward, number one, is to ensure that the government have the political will to implement. My colleague Architect Bimbola mentioned there that when you get to a site, you don't see the names of people who are involved. That is critical. If there's political will on the part of those who are responsible for implementation, supervising ongoing projects, they're supposed to have discovered that at the site of the collapsed 21-story building. Because it all have phone number of the same person. That was why I mentioned corruption. So the way, number two way forward is we should minimize if we cannot eradicate corruption. If we don't kill corruption, corruption will kill us. It will kill us. It's degrading. Every day buildings are collapsing. The ones you guys are hearing in the media are the big ones. Every day. A few days ago, one in Badagry. When the 21-story collapsed, on the second day, one in Korodu. Come to Abuja and see what is happening. I know of a case, they called me that the building had just collapsed. Before I got to the place, they might have leveled the ground. I didn't see anything. So nothing I could capture. When the police got there that we invited, we didn't see anything. No estimates. So, number three, our professionals must go back to the old days. When this professionalism was the game But the key thing, when somebody built Union Hall, Union Bank building, UBA building, Cocoa House building, they're standing. They are professionals. So the need to sustain professionalism is another way to go. Just as I said earlier, that the quacks are taking over the job of the professionals. We did a survey on developers in FCT. We discovered that 75% of those who are doing real estate development don't have any knowledge of building or construction. And we found that the level at which they engage the services of those people at the point of designing, at the point of site supervision, which in most cases, if they advise them on a particular thing and they know it's likely to affect their profit margin, they ignore. So, above all, the way forward is seriousness of the government. The way forward is the seriousness of the professionals. The way forward is to stop being selfish. The so-called developer is selfish, is looking for money. I just posted a story now that somebody who designed something decided to live inside the building first. So that's how to test the genuineness of that material. We need to start putting some of those developers in those houses for a few days first before we allow other people to do it. So if it is going to kill them, let it kill them first before people are killed outside.
You have made your point, Mr. Adibayo.
So thank you, my friend. It's my pleasure to be in your program.
You have made your point. For want of time, let me go back to Abibola. Okay, from your professional point of view, what is the way out? Because your submission and that of Mr. Festus Adebayo is the same. Government largely has failed in its regulatory role. Professionals like you too are responsible partly. So where do we go from here? How do we save ourselves from untimely deaths and economic losses?
Thank you very much. I think I totally agree with Mr. Adebayo's assertion. It's very important that there must be government's will to do things right. And it's very important also for professionals to take responsibility and do what is right. Now, developers developers should be deterred from the practice of compromising qualities in order to maximize their profits. They must be deterred, and the only way they can be deterred is that government agents must work hand in hand with professionals. Government agency in construction or building construction control must insist that professionals must be appointed for the execution of their projects. If that is done, and the professionals take responsibility of those projects and do it according to the way it should be done by undergoing all the necessary process of testing and supervision, I think we'll be able to stop all this incessant building collapse. Government agencies must work together with professionals. They must not in any way sideline professionals, because by doing that, we are giving room to those that does not have business in the construction industry to come in and thrive. And that is what is happening in our society today.
All right. Many thanks to you. We have run out of time. Architect Abibola Adeoluwa, architectural educator at University of Uyo, Akwa Ibom State. Thank you for joining us on Inside Nigeria this morning. And Mr. Festus Adebayo, Executive Director, Housing Development Advocacy Network, HDAN. Thank you for joining us this morning on Inside Nigeria. We appreciate your invaluable contributions, and we hope to see both of you when the need arises.